Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, Anthony.
Today we're going to examine the question, is a cash buyer better for probate real estate? So which offer for probate real estate is better? An experienced investor cash buyer or an individual financed offer that's supposedly $80,000 more? What do you think? What's your gut instinct there? $80,000 is a lot of money.
Yep, but I know the answer to this one. I'm going to go with experience. Yeah.
Well, we'll find out if it's really $80,000 more. Anyway, we had a recent case, and we're now able to, now that we've closed, we're able to look back and see how it would have shaken out. And it turns out the individual offer was actually more like maybe $30,000 more than the cash offer, maybe, which turned out in this case to be about a 3% higher than the cash offer. But that 3% came with a ton of headaches and delays. So we'll go through that, and you can decide for yourself what you think. Yeah. Okay, so how did this all shake out? Number one, when you have an individual buyer, they nitpick the heck out of us during inspections. Yep. This is somebody who's going to live here, who has a vision of where the couch is going to be, of where the where the TV is going to hang. And yes, the inspection did show some problems. That's totally normal, right?
Yes.
And some were legitimate and some were super cosmetic, like really, come on, right?
Right.
And this is an as-is contract because this is an estate sale. We were not, we said this is your offer as is, correct? Right? And Janice, what does as is mean?
Take it or leave it. Yeah. Like as it is. But
I don't, this is what you get. And so basically, end of the day, just skipping through all the back and forths, which was a lot, the buyer ended up demanding over $20,000 worth of repairs and buyer's credits, which means like give me money, take money off the top because I'll fix it myself kind of stuff.
Right.
And on top of that, the repairs that they demanded that we make took months, right? This was so right now we're at the point where we dealt with a very finicky buyer, which is a pain. Yep. We had to give money back and or pay for repairs to the tune of over $20K. And those repairs took months. We're adding months of delay to the process.
Yes.
Still looking good? How we feeling now about cash buyer versus individual?
And months equals money, right? Yep. Every time that house is sitting vacant for how long?
And risk. A pipe bursts in months. A roof caves in months, right?
Yep.
And then that's our problem still because it's still ours.
It's still owned by the estate. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So next, I got to point out that if we had a cash buyer, they would just inherit the vast majority of those problems. Like, why do they do that? Are they just nice guys?
No.
Okay, so cash buyers do care about big problems. Anything that affects title, like, hey, we're over the boundary line with our neighbor, that's a problem. They'll want to adjust for that. Or anything that has like long-term impacts, like environmental issues, like there's lead, under kryptonite or whatever underneath.
Right.
No, we don't want that. Asbestos, exactly.
Right.
Any big problems like that, yes. But anything cosmetic or even some structural stuff, they don't care. Why?
Cracked paint. Yeah.
No, even they don't, higher level than that. You know why they don't care? Right. Because they're going to tear the whole thing down anyway and rebuild it.
Yep.
So like, it makes zero difference to them if they're going to, whether or not that porch looks like that or the door is working or not, because they're going to redo it all anyway.
Right.
And all those problems will be fixed or completely replaced with new things. Yeah.
And not by us, and not our problem.
Exactly. And not our time. Right? Exactly.
Not our time. Right.
And to the extent there are problems, let's say there is a problem that requires, a big problem that requires a fix. That's fine. That does happen. But they have experienced teams that can either easily fix the cosmetic problems, or they're just not going to freak out, and they'll know very calmly. All right, so this is a $5,000 problem. Oh, this is a $10,000 problem. Either you're going to fix it, or we're going to, and they don't have to. They're actually very super efficient because they do this so often.
They know.
Yeah, and their prices or their estimates are actually way tighter, way lower than an individual who is scared of negotiating with a contractor. Yeah,
right, and they're reasonable and they're more accurate because, like you said, they've done it before.
Okay, so lastly, cash buyers close quickly. We've been harping on the months and months, but that's a big deal. Like we talked about, where money's going out that whole time, and we're bearing a lot of risk. Any trips and falls on the sidewalk in front of us while we're waiting, that's our problem. Yep. So another way time matters is that we don't have weeks of open houses or marketing. In fact, we might not even use a broker, which will save us another 6% on a broker's commission. That's a huge dollar amount. Could be as much as I think in this case, $35,000. There's no negotiation on inspection items because, as we just talked about, they're going to tear it down anyway, so who cares? Yep. There's no actual repair, or there's less likelihood of us having to spend months making actual repairs. And when you do all those things, when you're dealing with an individual buyer and all those things happen, you have a higher legal bill. The closing attorney has now spent months on a deal that could have been done in a couple of weeks. So you're now, instead of looking at $1,000 or $2,000 for closing, you look at $5,000, maybe even $7,000 for closing, because they're negotiating all these nitpicky issues. Mm-hmm. And why do cash buyers move so quickly? Because they want to get in. They don't want to bear the risk of the market moving against them. They want to get in, fix it up, and flip it. I mean, that's what they do, right?
Yeah. For the same reason we want to get out sooner, because slips and falls, and the whole time it's there, what you're paying, the electric, the water, the heat, the insurance, everything.
Yeah, and their money's tied up while this is all going on. They want to untie it and make their money and invest it in the next deal. Yeah. Yep. So my conclusion, or the factual conclusion, is that the cash buyer definitely still, even after all these adjustments and whatnot, it was still net less than the offer from the individual finance buyer. Definitely. It was about like I said, it's about a $30,000 difference, or about 3.5% of the deal. But to an estate with, let's say, 4 heirs, that's about $7,000 each.
Yeah.
So for $7,000 each, and again, I'm not trying to, I'm just saying this is the decision you need to make. Is it worth all the headaches, all the risk, and all the delays? That's something you need to figure out, and just know that it's not an $80,000 spread. It's going to be a lot less than that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So up to you to decide. Is it worth the stress? And make sure you understand that it's not that big, it's not that wide of a gap. Yeah.
Yes, and we've talked about this so many times before about selling real estate and, a little bit quicker, safer. We can put some links in there too, but I always recommend Anthony's book, How Probate Works, available on Amazon.
Cool. Yeah. Real estate can be messy. It's a big what is the saying?
Yeah.
It's often the biggest transactions most individuals will ever have in their life.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
So it can be stressful. And you don't want to add in a stressed out buyer to an already complicated situation. That's my perspective, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Stressed out buyers, stressed out heirs. It's a lot. Yep.
Okay, cool. We'll keep talking about these topics. Thank you, Janice, as always. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And we will talk soon next time.
Talk soon.
Bye now.